Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to the Great Books course of the Wisdom School of Ubiquity University. We've started 2022 with Kala Perkins, who is sharing with us her second lecture on Maitreya's work on infinity. Kala was on Humanity Rising last year in the fall, and gave a splendid PowerPoint and lecture on the relationship between cosmology and Eastern mysticism. And so we invited her to do a great book as we begin 2022 on infinity by Maitreya. So Kala, I want to welcome you back and thank you for everything that you've done over your professional life, really, to illuminate people's imagination more than anything about the cosmos and spirituality at the same time, in terms of the powerful synergies and alignments between Eastern mysticism and the latest research data on how the cosmos was formed and how it operates. So thank you and welcome to the Great Books.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to be able to share with this awesome and inspiring community. So we are back at infinity, where we have never left, once again. And I just want to remind you that our last session last month, some of the fundamental ideas that we discussed from infinity were the idea of the cosmic magnet, that the universe is filled with consciousness, intention, rationality, reason, and cosmic justice, which unfolds its creative intention throughout each and every particle, each and every dynamic of the universe, and that our striving affords us access and communion with each and every dynamic of the universe, that we forge our own path in the universe, and that we are a part of the total dynamic of cosmic creativity. We are co-creators in the universe. These are some of the fundamental ideas that Maitreya shares with us in the process of illuminating the dynamics of infinity in cosmos. So I will begin with infinity 2 this time. So your patience is appreciated as I'm working with some unusual technologies here. I'm being remote from where I usually am, so thank you. So I was thinking about how best to present infinity 2 for you with Maitreya's cosmology, and appreciating that I cannot speak any better than he does. What I've done for our second installment here on infinity is select 3 sections from his book, Infinity 2, and we will discuss them together. It would be wonderful if we could share during it, but we are in a webinar format. So I will share with you, and then perhaps afterwards we can discuss some of these ideas. So I've taken a selection from the very first part of the book, the center of the book, and the conclusion, so that we have an overview and a good idea of where he's taking us and what he wants to share with us. So I will begin with the beginning. The core of the planet is surrounded with energies which infuse life into all its processes. And what I've done is comment on these things as we go, these ideas. So the Earth's global magnetic field, again, the core of the planet is surrounded with energies which infuse life into all its processes. So we understand now in modern science that that our Earth, the global magnetic field, is generated by the magnetic metallic core, by the movement located nearly 3,000 kilometers beneath the planet's surface. The field has existed on Earth for at least 3.5 billion years and offers clues about how other planets, stars, and celestial bodies may have formed. NASA has found dynamics and organics in the bodies of other planets, as well as dwarf planets like Ceres in our asteroid belt. As the scientists refine their understanding of how this field works in their ongoing probe of planetary history, one idea that they use to explain this process is dynamo theory, the idea that a large dynamo or magnetic field generator exists within the Earth's outer core, where liquid ions constantly move as the planet cools. This continuous motion creates an electric current as the electrons move through the liquid. Through this process, the energy of the moving fluid is converted into a magnetic field that can be sustained for billions of years. So we understand that this magnetic field is the process and the power by which our life is sustained on this planet. Without the magnetic field to sustain our atmosphere, we wouldn't exist. And Maitreya was discussing this, that the life and the physics of the planet itself are correlated. So I have a PowerPoint presentation that I would like to share with you. We will go here.
It looks great, Calla.
Okay, so our atmosphere, Maitreya is talking about how the dynamics of the planet and life itself are correlated. So our atmosphere, this is a tiny little probe on the edge of the ionosphere, and it's only this little tiny orange line, which is our troposphere. It's about 7 to 11 miles thick, what we live and move and breathe in. The higher layers, the stratosphere of our Earth, we can't breathe in that. So how imperative for us is it that we respect the quality of our atmosphere, of our troposphere, that allows life to exist on our planet and has existed for 3.5 billion years. When we're talking about our environment and how we're affecting our atmosphere, it's shocking that this little species called Homo sapien is changing it to the degree that we are. So we have to have some reverence for understanding the 4.6 billion years that it's taken our Earth in its dynamics to create this alchemy, this chemistry, and the magnetic fields around the Earth that allow life to exist. And all these fiery processes, we're talking about Agni Yoga with the process of infinity, the fires of space, that we are forged of these fires. And just sharing, so Maitreya says, in intention, the planet has varied from its original saturation. And this was written in 1930. So it was the beginning of this industrial dynamic, but there's more involved in this. Indeed, it cannot be denied that the two poles are out of balance. Maitreya is speaking here. The counterposition as a result of their having one and the same source. Each encirclement of the planet brings an accumulation of energy. So here we're looking at Kilauea volcano, and I happen to be in Hawaii. This is the ancient fire from the belly of the earth, from that fluid dynamic of around the core. And this was a photograph that I took just a few days ago under the crescent moon. So that fiery dynamic, the volcanoes, the lightning from volcanoes, is actually influencing the capability of our planet to sustain life. So all of these alchemies, all of these chemisms of our Earth are what keeps it in balance. And we understand that each time the earth rotates, I don't have a picture, excuse me, of the magnetic field around our earth, which balances with the solar dynamics. But all these processes are what allows life to exist. And Maitreya so much impels us to understand that this is part of the consciousness, part of the intentionality of the cosmic magnet, of the universe itself as it generates life. All these processes are codependent and interactive. In the planetary dimension and in the spiritual, the forces of attraction are identical. We're used to thinking of the physical and the spiritual, but he's sharing with us that these forces are correlated, they are identical. Hence, a specific combination issues from each contact and creative striving results. Our spirituality and the physicality are correlated. They are one and the same. And each time our striving toward the cosmic magnet, which is the heart of the universe, which beats our own hearts, it's impelled in motion all of the creativity of our planet, all of the creativity of our consciousness. All of these are interrelated in matter, in energy, in spirit. They are harmonized, they are a unity. The creation of conditions depends upon the attraction of the impelled seeds. We are seeds of creativity, and seeds of creativity, Maitreya tells us, fill the space. The spirit creates seeds through its striving. Thus, the ocean of infinity is within each seed. Each of us, each thought, action, potentiality creates these seeds of creativity that magnetize the cosmic power, the cosmic magnetism, and generate creativity in our consciousness and in the field of our earth. And in space, they're all related. Our second paragraph from Maitreya says, the currents are transforming the earth and generating a new step. The currents are spatial energies of planetary identity and destiny, currents of karma and identities of movement within the dynamics of the accordance, the concordance of the cosmic magnet are invoking and evoking our planetary and our cosmic destinies. The manifestation of a date evokes an alternative currents. So he's telling us that there are dates, there are developmental dates, just like in a human body or in a fetus. There are developmental dates in the planetary, in our global evolution. And these occur in relationship to many other planets, to many other dynamics in the universe. And all of these, when these harmonic moments occur, it creates transformations in the field itself. So he also shares with us all dormant energies are aroused by these moments of generation. All subject to destruction is strained. Shall the heart not quiver when the flame of conflagration engulfs all spheres? So he wrote this in 1930, which was just before World War II. But we can look at very similar dynamics in our world now as these moments of tension are occurring in our world. All the departing and the self-asserting energies are determining their tension. The East awakens and opposes the West. The North opposes the South. And shall the heart not quiver? Ominous are the currents, and the spirit assimilates all courses. So we respond to all these dynamics, and our striving transmutes the field itself. The cosmic verdict is austere but full of limitless beauty. As we in the tower, he's referring to the planetary spirit, the Shambhala, the Shangri-La. As we in the tower follow the gathering of the new threads, you also must perceive all movements of the currents, the elements of fire. So we understand that everything is forged by fire. When we look at the universe, we ourselves are made of these dynamic cosmic processes. Third or fourth generation stardust is the nature of everything on our planet, that we are made of all the elements. The iron in our blood is the last stage of a supernova, some great supernova before it exploded. All of the potassium, magnesium, everything that we and our planets are made of are this churning of subtle fires. So fire is the very nature of our being. He goes on to share with us the aura of humans affirmed for cosmic transmissions depend upon various conditions, just as does a conductor of electricity. When the human spheres require certain shocks, the cosmic transmissions flow accordingly. So our bodies, we resonate all of the chakras, the centers in our body, that's like the fabric of the prototype, the foundation upon which the physical form is created. All of these dynamics, all of these energies respond with the universe. They respond with the flow of energies on our planet, with the dates, with the times, the seasons, and the cycles of the growth of our earth. And it's all moving and becoming more subtle as the earth spins, as the solar system spins, as the galaxy spins, like the churning of when we go from making milk to cream to butter, but we're becoming more and more refined, more subtle with the churning. Our bodies are becoming more refined. Our whole entire dynamic is responding to the universal dynamic with all. So these, we will come to this one. We'll stay here for just a moment. Okay. So all of these fires are interacting with our body, the fires of space, the fires of the earth, the creativity, and all the beauty and all the cycles. Verily, the centers of an Agni Yoga. We are Agni Yogas. We are awakening to our harmonic correlation with the fires of space. The centers of an Agni Yoga feel each planetary vibration. Hence, it is so imperative to strive toward the tower, toward the spiritual teachers, toward the wisdom beings during the cosmic perturbations. Just as we share in the destiny of the planet, so we also partake of the beauty of the infinite. So all of these forces meet in our human organism and in our human consciousness, and we influence with our striving the destiny of our nations, our races, our planetary being. The aura of humans affirmed for cosmic transmissions depend upon various conditions, just as does a conductor of electricity. When the human spheres require certain shocks, the cosmic transmissions flow accordingly. Only these elements adhere to the spheres which can be absorbed by the affirmed auras. So as we refine our auras, our consciousness, we become more resonant with the dynamics and the destiny of the universe and the planet. When spheres require violent destruction, those spheres cannot absorb the streaming transmissions of cosmos. Hence, the darkness surrounding the planet will not permit the affirmation without manifestations of explosions. These forces of purification will illumine humanity. The cosmic fires attract affirmed dates. So all these evolutionary phases and cycles, we have these tremendous explosions of volcanoes constantly. The ring of fire, this is a 3D map of the ring of fire around the field of our continents. And volcanoes, explosions, volcanic lightning that we see here, these are constantly occurring on our planet to keep the atmosphere, to keep the balance, to keep the evolutionary life force moving. And Maitreya is also telling us that these dynamics purify the psychic atmosphere as well. The purifying fires of the universe penetrate all regions of the planet. The sparks of conflagration spread along all channels of karmic action. The force of karma shifts and transfers power from hand to hand. The cosmic course is directed toward those purifying conflagrations, hence the comet speeding through the infinite. The tensity of the currents is very great, and the effects correspond to the fires of the planet. The centers of the Agni Yoga, Agni meaning fire, record all of these cosmic currents. So the fire, the aura of the human being, the aura, the fire of space, and the fire of the cosmos, the fires of the earth, the internal fires of the earth, and the fires of cosmos. All of these are correlated. All of these are an integration. We've found in many of our research projects these correlations. So the magnetic currents of the human aura penetrate the most diverse regions. Certainly science must call these emanations psychic energy. So the psychic energy and the physical energy are deeply correlated. They're not diverse from each other. They are in a harmonic relationship. Tensive properties propel the psychic seeds and form a sphere conducive to striving. So our spirituality is invoked and facilitated by these relationships between the fire of space, the fire of the universe, the fire of the earth, and our own bodies. It generates the conditions in which our spiritual awakening and our consciousness can manifest. The nature of the emanations can produce a powerful tension. Depending upon the way the streams of these emanations of a blended aura are directed, the power of this energy is either destructive or constructive. We make that choice with the quality of our consciousness and our striving. Thus, from human emanations, it will be possible to derive the most heterogeneous energies. Conscious handling of the emanations of the human aura will afford an achievement of great fiery creativeness. So we are consciously learning what is our aura, what is the fire of space, what is the human being, how are we related, and what is the science? How can we utilize these currents of fiery energy of space? We're using gamma rays to clear cancerous tumors now. these energies are coming into our medical science, and we're using them right now, these currents, to do Zoom, to work across the universe, to transmit our ideas on the electromagnetic currents of space. It's very beautiful.
Calla, could I interrupt you for a second?
Certainly.
Your camera is turned off, and are you showing slides? Because we only see your slide holder.
Okay. Yes, I was. Okay. So you can see me again?
Yeah, I can see you again. Were you showing some slides though? Because we didn't see them.
Okay, yes, I was showing the slides, so it must have jumped off.
Right, it came off a couple minutes ago.
Okay. Thank you for stopping me. So,
Calla, don't
yes.
turn your camera off though. You can leave your camera on and still show slides.
Right. It's turning itself off.
Okay.
I don't know why it's turning itself off.
Okay.
So
Also, the other thing why I'm interrupting, I can promote everybody so you can see everybody in the discussion if you'd like.
that would be fine. I was on the slides, but
Well, we could do
don't
that
know-
later, but why don't we see even get the slides back up again? Because I'm sure people would like to see them.
okay. Let's see if I can go to the slides, screen share, and it doesn't. Maybe seeing the slides is more. So did it turn off my camera? Are you there? Richard?
Your camera is off. You're still not sharing screen yet.
Okay, so I did click on screen share. So I guess it's not share screen, share contents.
Do you
Screen.
have the PowerPoint open? Is it that you got to click on the PowerPoint and then click share?
Let me. Slideshow. Can you see it now?
Nope, you're not sharing yet. So is your PowerPoint open?
It was a moment ago.
Okay, so open your PowerPoint first.
Before I screen.
Yeah.
Okay. It's open.
Okay, now go to share screen and click
So-
on the PowerPoint.
So, okay, I have to close my PowerPoint in order to open Zoom because I'm on an iPad.
No, your Zoom is remaining open. You just can't see it. It's what's going on.
Can you
You know,
see
I
my,
have your slides. Do you want me to put your slides up?
yeah, I was moving between them.
Tell you what, I'm grabbing them right now.
There's only 2 more slides that
Well, I'll tell you what, let me get them for you. I got it right here. I'm going to share screen and we'll be ready to go.
if you go to, so I'll go back to,
You just
My-
stay where you are and I'm going to open up my computer.
okay.
And I'm sharing my screen now.
All right, so if you can go to the slide, go down, keep going. So I was just moving between them. We have the human, and then the next one. And the next, and then you can stay there. The next one, yeah. So let's stay here.
This one? Okay.
No, this one, yeah. Okay, so we're looking at correlations between the universe and the human being and how all of these dynamics, the physical and the spiritual and the fiery dynamics of the universe, how these are all correlated and interrelated. So just let me find where we are here. So, okay, so continuing with Maitreya's thoughts, The purifying fires of the universe penetrate all regions of the planet. The sparks of conflagration spread along all channels of karmic actions as volcanoes. So you can go back to the volcanoes if you like. As volcanoes, as volcanoes, these affirmed fires explode. The forces of karma shift and transfer power. And these conflagrations are directed toward the purification of the planet. Okay, we've done this, and our auras interact with all of these dynamics, with our atmosphere, with the fires of space. You can feel when you go from one place to another. For instance, I'm in Hawaii right now, and the atmosphere is different. I'm in the middle of the ocean, and there's an active volcano on this island where I am at the moment. So the feeling, the psychic energy, the life force is different when we go from being in a downtown city like Los Angeles or being on an island like where I am now. We feel the psychic energy differently. And all of these interact with our human aura, with our human consciousness. So it's imperative for us to be aware of these things and to balance our affirmations and our strivings. Maitreya says that the processes, the radiation of the human aura can intensify powerful energies. The propelled stream of one center, of a center, can melt and intensify energy. So our aura, the energy of our bodies in a city or wherever we are, can affect the different psychic energies that are interacting in that city. Each living organism is affecting the whole collective consciousness and dynamics of an area or of the earth itself. Hence, when streams of fire pour from the fingers of blue fire, we don't see this, but in creativity, it's subtle. It's in the infrared, in the ultraviolet light. It is the creativeness of the emanations that manifests the actions. Thus do the centers create. The spiritual transmissions are intensified, excuse me, by the same energies. All creative processes are strained by the centers, by our chakras and the centers of our consciousness. The process of creativeness of the centers is so subtle that it is invisible. Of course, the centers act creatively on many planes. The creativeness of the propelled irradiation strives into the spheres of the far-off worlds. So our creativity, it's affecting not only our environment here on Earth, but it's creating a resonance with the other worlds in the universe. You could go to the cosmic, our image of the universe, of the galaxies. If Richard, backwards, the other way. Back to the one with the universe, the one more. Yeah, this one, the one of the galaxies. So go forward to the one of the galaxies, yeah. So we begin to understand, one more. Yeah, so we begin to understand. So we've taken this picture with our telescopes. This energy isn't just happening at the Hubble telescope and then sending the picture to our Earth. All of these energies throughout the whole life cycle of the planet and the life cycle of our civilization and of our own bodies, all these energies are literally flowing through our bodies. We are touching the fires of space. We are breathing, living, moving, and breathing in all of these energies that our telescopes share with us are there, and we don't see with our eyes, but they're flowing through our bodies. They don't just occur at a mountain telescope somewhere. They are the atmosphere, all these fires. And as we develop psychically, we begin to resonate with the dynamics of this cosmic energy in which we are immersed, the plasm, like the fluid in which we swim like spiritual fish in the fire of space. So it's an awesome reality in which we participate. So I'm going to share one of Maitreya's phrases from the very center of the book, number 100. And as I mentioned on the Agni Yoga website, you can access all of these books. You can download them for free. They love you to be immersed in this wisdom. That's why they were given. So they're all accessible for you, but with our Infinity 2, which is one of Maitreya's books, I wanted to give you a taste, just a taste of each aspect of what he is sharing with us. So number 100, and before I had given you the first 5 phrases. Much is affirmed by us, meaning the spiritual teachers, the ones who are more awake than most of us. And tension will bring the predestined. Those who have dedicated themselves to the cosmic tension must conquer. Hence, our worldwide victory is irrevocable. Therefore, when that which is predestined by the spiritual community is to be fulfilled, joy resounds. Therefore, I have said it. I vouch for it. I see victory. And this is so important for us to reflect upon just now, when all of these tensions, our climate tension and our political tensions, are again aroused on our earth. Maitreya is telling us there will be a spiritual victory, that we will awaken to the predestined awareness. Yes, 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 he says. During ascent, the difficult hours transform failure into success. Thus, let us remember victory and joy. Thus, the new step is predestined by the cosmic magnet. I think about Jim's work with Humanity Rising and how amidst all these tensions, political tensions, climate dynamics, tensions, all are striving that, yes, the victory, the creativity, the power of the universal spirit, which we share with the cosmos, all of these together will bring us to victory. And so much in our last text, Infinity 1 was sharing, we need to go beyond the boundaries of thinking of this physical world, this physical body as our limitations, that the infinite is our destiny of evolution, the far off worlds, other psychic destinies await us in many, many dimensions of evolution and of the cosmos. I imagine we understand now that there are more than 4,000 other solar systems just nearby us in one area of our galaxy. So most stars have solar systems. So there are innumerable worlds in space in which our life forces move and flow. And we have no idea right now, these little human beings that we are, which worlds will our spirits inhabit? From which worlds will spirits come through our solar system to this planet in some future time? So Maitreya is awakening us to this powerful destiny that we share with the universe, that we are infinite, we are not bound. And with our time as it's going, I want to go now to the last, and it's fine to leave it there, Richard, that's great, thank you. Number 500 of the phrases and the last section of what he's sharing with us. A sensitive Agni Yoga knows all paths to the realization of infinity. We become awakened to this vast dynamic of the play of life in the universe. We're no longer bound with little focus in our world of what am I doing today? What am I eating? What am I, how am I paying my bills? Our awareness becomes participatory with the creative dynamic of the universe, giving us access to new forms of creativity, new participation in a much vaster livingness of the cosmos. The spirit knowledge reads the book of life, and the wisdom of ages is deposited as accumulations in the chalice, the highest chakra. Therefore, the law of unification is contained in the synthesis of the chalice. We're participating in the cosmic evolution, the unification of expressions with the one. Upon this knowledge, therefore, the law of unification is contained in the synthesis of the chalice. Upon this knowledge, we build our wondrous step. We have molded our life over millennia, countless lifetimes, this organism, this consciousness we call human, and higher aspects and expressions, the bodhisattvas, the spiritual heroes, which is the destiny of each one of us. The cosmic laws are beautiful. Thus, into the seed of the spirit is laid the beauty of beingness. The law of sacrifice demands of humanity the offering of its best elements. When the spirit of humanity will grasp the fact that striving for the higher achievement is the most essential action, we will cling to the cosmic magnet. We've understood now the universe is speeding in its unfoldment, the unfoldment of the lotus of the universe, and gifts are accessible to our heart as we attune ourselves to these higher dimensions and stages and presence of the fire of space and evolution. It is an alchemy. The concept of sacrifice is transmuted into the meaning of service to the highest reason. It is an alchemy of transformation, our service. As we seek to serve the good, our being is transformed by sacre, to make sacred. We are transmuting the fabric of the consciousness of ourselves and our planet into the sacred fires of space through our service, this alchemy of the transformation of intention and aspiration by our will to good. It is transmuting ourselves and our universe. So with time, I want to leave time for commenting. So Maitreya continues, in the book of life, one must look for the manifestations leading to the concepts of the higher existence. We think about this life, but there are infinite planes of existence. And the teachings tell us that there are also infinite realms of subtler life where beings exist. And we are correlated with these many dimensionalities. Richard, you can stay with that last slide, that's fine. Therefore, only application of correlation leads to the goal fitness of action. the harmonization of our lives with the universe itself. And here, I'm going to go to our final phrase here, the last few phrases. When the power of light and the property of darkness are surpassed by the blending into the higher goodness, this churning and transformation, the affirmation of the ray of truth enters life. And before we were talking, it's Satya Yuga. From the age of darkness, which we're passing through, we are entering the age of truth, Satya Yuga. So truth enters life. When the ray issues from the potential of the striving spirit, we contact the fires of space. Therefore, from when humanity will understand the power in the quality of thought, we will master the mightiest lever. Humanity must strive indefatigably in the realization of this mighty lever. So the cosmic heart, we don't beat our own hearts. We don't wake up in the morning. What is it that starts the heartbeat in the fetus? Like the star starts in the little cocoons of newly birthing planetary nebula, of the newly birthing solar nebulas, when a star ignites in the dust cloud of ancient stardust. Just like the heart ignites in the fetus, it begins to beat, and the form of the human being emerges in the womb of space, in the womb of the mother. Then our heart throughout our life continues to beat, correlated with the little pulsing heartbeats of the stars in space, the cores of ancient exploded stars, and the heartbeats of newly forming suns and stars in space. So here we have this slide, this idea that our heartbeat, we don't cause our heart to beat. We don't know. It's a great mystery that is correlated with the pulses of space. And that's what our slide is showing us here. So the entire evolution proceeds in cosmic tension, this tension between all elements of creativity. The power of the spirit creates in cosmic tension. The great universal mystery is fulfilled in this cosmic tension and correlation. Cosmos, the cosmic action, can be created only in the attraction of correspondences. We are this incredible harmony of space. The concordance, the harmonies, concordance intensifies the cosmic actions, and the maximum of tension gives the maximum of action. So concordance is this emergence of the cosmic symphony. It's amazing to think about this beauty of creative harmony between all expressions of the planet, all creative expressions, the flowers, the animals, the trees, the shared processes of all organisms, and the cosmic organism, the unfoldment of the cosmic lotus in these harmonic concordances, the symphony, the unfoldment of the cosmic symphony. And I'm going to the last of his phrases and his thoughts here before we can have some discussion. The cosmic magnet is intensified by the impellent fire. The extent to which humanity, through the expansion of consciousness, can accept the direction of the magnet depends upon the striving of our spirits. Only this lever can indicate the way to the magnet of fire, the heartbeat of cosmos itself. Only the quest of the spirit can give a direction to the source of energy. Thus one can affirm coordination, and propel the spirit toward truth, our unfolding age of truth, Satya Yuga, when these truths will be how we emerge our culture, our universal culture, our cosmic civilization as we awaken. And in closing, Maitreya offers, I am trying to bring you closer to infinity, not merely to give you an exquisite concept, but so that you may acquire refinement of consciousness. If through knowledge of causes we expand our consciousness, then through the cognition of quality, we refine it. This property and the quality of thought and feeling will evince the cognition of the origins of creation. Words cannot formulate what constitutes high quality of thinking, but each one senses its required quality. So when we are moving through life, we sense that our hearts need to express or to a thought, a higher vibration throughout our lives. We begin to realize that we are creating higher resonance with the cosmic vibration. This quality, as an Aeolian harp, resounds to the currents of reality, and it accumulates beneath the center of the chalice, the subtler soma, the energy of cognition and discernment, not only by means of co-measurement, but also in accordance with immutability. So we are forging our immortality in the universe with our steps of conscious awakening in life. This last spark of truth kindles the attracting beacon of light. At so dark a moment, let us dwell upon the light, upon the life and the cosmos that we share. So with our heartbeat of space, the correlation and the concordance, the great harmony of our being as we evolve with the universe in space, let me invite Georgie and Jim to please come and join me, and we can talk about some of these awesome ideas and realities.
Awesome indeed. Thank you, Kala. I had no idea that Maitreya was so detailed and specific about how the cosmos works and the specific nature of modern cosmology as it relates to somebody who was writing thousands of years ago. It is quite a remarkable phenomenon, the insight that these ancient masters had on the universe that exceeds even what we have today in terms of our modern technologies for exploration and quantification. It's really a remarkable thing. So thank you for that. Georgie, you did a PhD.
Can I respond to you first?
Sure.
Two thoughts. Yes, indeed. Sakyamuni, in the text that he wrote, was talking about galaxies, the flaming, whirling lotuses in space. So there is no wall between us and the universe. With our consciousness, we can extend the telescope of awareness out into the depths of space as we learn to do this. Especially when we don't have the lights of cities that keep us from seeing the galaxy itself. But the mind is a great telescope of reality. But Maitreya wrote these books, the Infinity 1 and 2. Maitreya is not only an ancient being. He's spoken about, there are 4 books in the Buddhist treatises written 2,000 years ago, approximately, or a little bit more recently by Maitreya, and many of the Buddhist treatises, the Mahayana treatises, speak of Maitreya, but Maitreya is alive and well. And these books, Infinity 1 and 2, were literally given to Helena Rurik, whom he calls the Tara at one point, in Russian in 1930.
Oh,
Not as like automatic writing or any of these sort of psychic phenomena, but transcription.
amazing.
The Agni Yoga books were literally given during a period right before World War II, the darkest hour of humanity, by the teachers. 5 of these books were given by Maitreya, as I understand. The others by one of the other teachers. At the darkest hour of humanity, we tend to think of the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas as these ancient characters in mythology. They are not. They are literally, they live in subtler bodies. We call it Shambhala, we call it the field of the ethers. There may be life on Venus. Venus is known as but in subtler and subtler forms. Many of the other planets in our solar system are gas giants. They may be filled with living organisms that are far more subtle. Our minds are not physical elements. We have physical bodies, but our minds are not physical. What if Jupiter has thousands of beings that exist in the frequency of mind? What if our destiny is to exist as beings of mind and spirit, though we pass through the kingdoms of physical matter in order to grow and learn and serve and transmute? Maitreya is a living being. He is affiliated with our earth field. It doesn't limit his psychic capacity. Manjushri, the other bodhisattvas, several bodhisattvas, the Lord of Shambhala, Sanat Kumara, she is called. There is the male beings, but the Lord of Shambhala, she is the androgen, the great androgen of the earth, and spoken of in the Chinese traditions, Shangri-La, Shambhala, the story that the great white island that existed in the Gobi Desert, there was an ocean there. You can still find shells in the Gobi Desert because it was an ocean. And the mythology says that because of the corruption of matter and humanity during the dark age, the Kali Yuga, the island itself has risen up into the etheric realms, the energy realms. But it's still there. I spent years going through the Gobi Desert in search of Shambhala. But it was fascinating. But you can sense in the subtle realms, you can sense there are energies, there are magnetic fields. Even the magnetic field of the earth fluctuates over the Gobi Desert. Our satellites have found these fluctuations. So Maitreya isn't an ancient myth. It's said that each day he comes somewhere in the Himalayas, he has an abode in the great vistas, and he comes and blesses the world. But you can have a conversation with him if you wake up your own mind to have a conversation with him. But you have to be very discerning to know what you're conversing with, so that you avoid all of the.
I wouldn't want to get Maitreya mixed up with Napoleon.
Right, exactly. Discernment is the most important.
This is mind-boggling. But the essential point that you're making, I think, is fundamentally true. That just because you pass from this body doesn't mean you've left. And it's possible for any of us to commune with the ancestors. That's been a truth that's been held certainly in the Chinese civilization and in the Eastern and indigenous civilizations forever.
Jim, so many of us have experiences with our parents.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not esoteric.
Yeah.
It's like your mother tells you, why didn't you do this? And she's been dead for 3 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
And you know it was your mom.
Georgie, what do you think of all this?
Although
You're
I
the-
think it's exciting, but thank you so much, Carla, for this wonderful presentation and for the really, really beautiful slides. I'd
Yeah.
like to quiz you about the evolution of the universe and the evolution of humankind, especially related to the correlation of the universe and the human body slide piece. So where we know that everything is interconnected and interdependent. So if the universe is changing and evolving, so clearly humanity is changing as well. So do we find any reference in Maitreya's book about any specific stages of human evolution? And if so, what are those? And are there any instructions in terms of how to deal with specific challenges and how to align ourselves even more to the development of the universe?
So the whole of the teachings of our great cultures are really focused on this development, the refinement of the human organism. Meditation, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which were really the foundations of these things. All of the higher yogas, these practices, Agni Yoga. So what he's giving with the Agni Yoga is like a developmental stage of yoga itself. There is the yoga for the physical body. There is the yoga of concentration. There is the yoga of meditation and contemplation and creativity by attuning ourselves. So much of what he talks about with developing our psychic refinement and subtlety develops the centers, the chakras of the body. Our creativity, whether it's music or art, it's we ourselves who strive to transform ourselves. But we know that the human organism, what in the beginning of last century, the average human being lived to the 40s, right? It was like 49 was an old person. That was the average. Some people live till 80, but not that many. So we see that the human organism itself, the physical organism, we have become more refined. The body has become more healthy and subtle, and the foods that we eat, all of the dynamics of our civilization. If we look at the creativity of music and art, all of these cycles of culture and how our creativity is developing so many more levels and dimensions of expression, how our thoughts, our civilization, how we travel. Now our minds encompass many more things than in ancient civilization the average people could encompass. And yet, I mean, we have tremendously developed civilizations like the Jain culture, which Alexander met the Jain who was meditating sitting on the ground. And the Jain said, he said, why don't you stand up and acknowledge me? And the Jain said, come sit on the ground with me and I'll have a conversation with you. And he did. And he ended up stopping his whole pilgrimage of destruction and going back to Greece. But we have these civilizations and we have meditation, we have creativity. Maitreya so strongly mentions our striving, he talks about new sciences that are being developed. And these books were written in the 30s, right? And new awarenesses, new creativity, new types of relationship between us and the universe and our physical bodies developing. But the yogas, the yoga of fire is what he's giving with Agni Yoga. And by fire, he means thought. He means aspiration. He means the subtle fires of consciousness, which are ours to develop. And he's inspiring us toward infinity. So infinity being the main idea, we tend to think of our world as this big. And the reason I originally got into astronomy, which astronomy and astrobiology, was because I was teaching in New York and it was the Cold War. And everybody was thinking, what do the Russians think? What do these people think? How big is my world? If he says something not nice, we have to do something not nice to them, you know, that boundary of thought. So I said, we need to completely open our reality. Who are we? What are we as human beings? What are we as drops in the cosmos? What are we as a process that the planet is going through, humaning? Why is the process? Why is the planet creating these human organisms in relation to its universal destiny? What are these humans? We think of this as me and my, but there's 90% bacteria. The cosmos is beating our heart. The bacteria are digesting the food we eat, and this little I, me, my is being hosted as a drop of a psyche or a soul or a consciousness. It's hosted by the planet to evolve and to evolve the earth. So it's our thought about infinity that opens our participation in it. These are steps. Maitreya says, strive to the far off worlds. And then we sit here going, what is he talking about?
No, I totally agree with every single word you say. What I was more like directing my initial question about the human evolution correlated to the universal evolution, that are there any specific instructions that how to deal with challenges, like for example, where we find ourselves now in the last 2 years, that, you know, I understand what you're saying, but maybe talking to somebody who is not at that consciousness level, what do you do with that? How do you know what I mean? Because we all an organism as humanity, right? So, and we all are at different levels of our evolutionary level. So that's what I try to get to, that are there any not instructions or a manual or some kind of like guidelines to how to navigate through these challenging times?
Well, I think, first of all, I think that's what the teachings are, is a guideline to aspire to something higher, that not to be suppressed by the darkness, break through with your consciousness toward the light, that there will be a victory, that we're not bound to these moments of darkness, aspire and inspire. And when I meet someone, and I understand, I mean, our world is full of this situation. How can we, with our creative mind, reach into our own depth of inspiration and formulate a seed for whoever that person is that will just trigger them a little bit in their next step of evolution? How can we be, he calls it being goal fit, so that for a child 5 years old, and he says that children by 5 can understand infinity. They're already questioning it at that age. But how can we find for each step of the way, what is the next step? What is the seed? It's our creativity. We think of ourselves as limited, but how can we open the shells, the layers around us by contacting these higher ideas and fire, so that we have the soma in our chalice of awareness, that someone comes to us and we know, he calls it straight knowledge. We know it's intuition. How can we cultivate our intuition and our subtle response and our creativity enough, as any teacher knows in a classroom? One fellow will be, I don't understand any of this. What do I do with it? And the next one will be, I want to do this for my life. You know, so how can we as teachers in our life, and each of us are teachers, how can we make bridges in a classroom of life like that?
Yeah, lovely, wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. I know that there are some questions from the audience, so I don't want to keep you any longer. I can talk to you infinity. Thank you,
It's
dear Carlos.
beautiful. It's so beautiful that we're to think of ourselves as an inspiration, because we are in such a moment, a time of striving, a cycle of striving, and we're breaking through Kali Yuga, the dark age,
Yeah.
into Satya Yuga, the age of truth. So these truths that Maitreya is giving, there's no break between the ancient wisdom and the current process of it. The 2,000-year cycles, 2,500, 250,000-year cycles of the galaxy spinning. You know, so as we think in those terms, it breaks the boundaries of the doldrum of whose politics we have to deal with.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's very necessary.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Georgie. Leo Jacobi, Kala, made the comment in the chat that's worth noting and getting your response, saying, Kala, your energy and message remind me of an elder Catholic nun steeped in the new cosmology of Brian Swim and Thomas Berry.
Yes.
Reflecting on infinity as a vital pathway to recovering a coherent appreciation of God, a term so flattened and domesticated in Western culture. I appreciate interfaith exchange to realize more deeply my own religious tradition. Because what you're saying does have strong echoes of Brian Swim and Thomas Berry and Irvin Laszlo and Teilhard de Chardin, and more recently Nassim Haramein. So now it'd be good to just comment on those people. And for the students and so forth, I'd like to see a few hands, and then we'll promote you and you can interact with Kala with your own questions. But let's start with Leo Jacobis.
So yes, definitely. Brian Swim, and who is his teacher? Once more, who's Brian's
He just
teacher?
mentioned Brian Swim and Thomas Berry.
So Thomas Berry was Brian Swim's teacher, and they wrote a book together. Yeah, I love Brian Swim is beautiful, his work and his books. And I remember there's a conference we have called Science and Non-Duality in the Bay Area. And I remember Brian coming and giving a talk and showing the fire of space, some galaxy, and then a primate, a giant ape, and being totally awestruck by how the fire of space could have manifest all these creatures. And I appreciate his sense of awe at the process and the dynamic of creation. Yes, definitely the idea. So Hildegard von Bingen, we're looking at the Catholic nuns. There is an incredible depth in all traditions. And Hildegard von Bingen or Teresa of Avila, they were inspired by this same truth. And the mystery we mentioned last session with Infinity One, that Maitreya, or Christ, as we call him in the West, overshadowed Jesus for 3 years. So these beautiful spiritual Catholic nuns were very much in communion with the Christos or the Maitreya. We said, just to remind you, that Jesus went to Kashmir in the lost years, according to our understanding of these traditions and mythologies. It's right across Afghanistan is Kashmir, from the Middle East, straight across. And it was all Buddhist at that time. It was all, even the Middle East. Saint Benedict was off in a cave meditating when his disciples came and said, you have to come in and teach us now. And he created the Benedictine order. But he was off doing yoga. He was off meditating in a cave. It was all Buddhist across to Kashmir, where the new teaching of the Bodhisattva was that at its peak and its summit at that time. So the Christos or Krishna or Maitreya, we're told in these teachings that that is that same one being who was Saint Teresa and Hildegard von Bingen, these mystical Christian nuns. He is their teacher. So it is not surprising to find this.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And Shishi has a question. Would you say that one of the ideas is to get more and more interconnected, but in a future sense? That the interconnection will be more and more in the future rather than the present or the past? That's a very interesting question.
So past, present, and future are an experience and a perspective. If you're in a car and you're going toward an intersection and there's another person in a car going toward that same intersection, you're in a moment of time. But if you lift your mind up above the city and you're seeing both cars moving, your time perspective completely shifts. So time is a perspective. And yes, toward the future, the past and the present must somehow in our consciousness come together in that concept of an evolving now. As we shift our identity, yes, it is the future, but the future lives in our being. The future lives in us. And like a magnet, it evolves our past and present into our unfoldment. It's like the seed of the oak tree. The oak tree lives in the seed of the oak tree. The whole universe lives in the seed of the cosmos. It's time, past, present, and future. Yes, it is the future. Yes, to exactly to what she's saying. It is the future calling us because it lives within us.
Yeah, yeah. Powerful point, powerful point. Any other questions or comments, anyone? You can raise your hand by just clicking on the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. And in the meantime, another question that I have, Kala, is in relationship to the Buddhist notion of enlightenment is samsara and samsara is enlightenment. You know, what's coming up for me as you were speaking is that, you know, if time past, time present, time future is all interconnected in the now then encompasses not only our consciousness, but all the aspects of our material reality. So the implications of what you're saying and what Maitreya is saying is that the entire spectrum of manifest being, both in the visible and the invisible worlds, is not only all happening simultaneously, but it's all happening synergistically. So it's not that there's karma and samsara out there somewhere and consciousness and enlightenment in here somewhere. It's all happening at the same time, and every little fractal is a gateway to everything else.
Beautifully put, Jim. Yes, very beautifully put. And as so often, your answer is in your question. So yes, and Maitreya says the darkness, when the darkness arises, and we know this in life, it increases the light. It's just like when your son or your daughter does something wrong, if for a good parent or a good teacher, it causes you to draw upon your resources to help them to evolve and transmute. So the whole thing is one. So if there is an increase in the darkness, the light will increase to encompass it, because it's the path of evolution. If there's a rock in the river, the water it evolves the rock, it grinds the rock. So it increases the flow at some level. The darkness increases the light. It's a strange relationship because of the will, cosmic will to evolve, the cosmic will to good, the cosmic will to its own destiny. If something goes against it, it creates a stronger force to bring that into the equilibrium of the flow. So it's physics as well. It's psychophysics. It's the dynamic of psychophysics where the creativity, so much of our creativity, Shostakovich, so comes to mind, the incredible repertoire of compositions and creativity, his 8th symphony of Shostakovich. When I was feeling the greatest darkness in the world, Shostakovich wrote that at when Stalin was at his darkest, really. And when I heard that 8th symphony, I said, okay, Shostakovich transmuted that great darkness into this incredible symphony. I can go on. It's like the creativity, much of our greatest brilliant creativity is a transmutation of the darkness into a higher expression of fire of creativity. It grabs a hold of it, transmutes it into a power. It's like a fertilizer for cosmic creativity.
Yeah. Well put. God knows we need that transformation of energy today because there's a lot of darkness out there.
Yes, indeed.
Shushu's raised her hand. Rick, if you could promote her and open her video. Okay, you're on the screen.
Hello, Shushu.
Let's see.
Her mic is open.
She's muted. Now she's open.
No, you got to turn it back off, Shushu.
Shushu, you're muted.
Yeah, you had it.
There
we go. There we go. Hello. Oh, we can't hear you. You're not muted, but somehow we can't hear you.
No, she's muted, Jim.
Oh, it doesn't show on mine.
Yeah. So it's open now. Try it again, Shushu.
Oops,
Oh, she's gone.
Yeah, we had it last time as well. Unfortunately, her internet connection is not very stable.
Oh, we
She's
lost her
coming back.
completely, Jim.
Yeah, here she's come back. Let's try one more time and then we'll.
Maybe she can write in the chat what she wants.
Hi.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, now it's working. Hey, yes, good morning, everyone. And yeah, I had the question in the chat and maybe just to, yes, it's only like, I just only want to say that this question was, I think maybe, yes, it's very great that we talk about this because all this traditional and ancient philosophy is really complicated for everyone to understand. And the only thing I want to say is that I think by thinking about all this, we will find the answer. My specific question is maybe a little bit specific, but yes, just thinking about this whole idea and get into this next upper perspective, yes, then there will be the answer, I guess. Yes.
What is your question, Shushu?
The question was, yes, for example, if the human perspective, if the yes, if we look at our human perception, yeah, what should we do for the next? What should we do next? Is it like getting more interconnected? But if you're saying that it's not about single perceptions or single perspectives, then this changed the thing. Then we need to think completely different. But I think this is the point, to think completely in a upper dimension or something.
So
Yeah.
I think
So-
you are, yeah.
Yeah. So the question was already answered, maybe.
So yes, you are answering your own question, which is the best way for it to happen. And Maitreya, just like what you said, Maitreya says unification is the greatest step. It is the yoga itself. So if we're in one culture, can we look at the ways that another culture would see things? And can we expand our consciousness by integrating other perspectives and grow our consciousness in that way? It's a yoga itself. It's a practice. It's just like what you said, that we get new perspectives as human beings, and we grow in our own dimensionality of consciousness by integrating new perspectives.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
And then
Yes.
we resonate, we become more adept, more helpful resonators for ourselves and for humanity and for the planet.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Shushu.
for the.
And Kala, thank you so much. This has been a tour de force, like your Humanity Rising session. So I just want to acknowledge you and thank you, and look forward to having you back, because this domain of the interface and interconnectivity between the latest research in cosmology and physics and the most ancient understanding that humans have had about the nature of reality is so fundamental to be brought together. And you are doing it in as artful and as profound a way as anything I've personally ever seen. So I really want to thank you for starting off our year the way that you have. So many, many thanks.
Thank you so much, Jim. I just want to mention that this science of infinity that is our modern mathematics, that Cantor also, set theory, all of this, the Jains developed. The ancient Jains have an incredible mathematics, the mathematics of infinity, which I would love to share more about when we do our teaching. This would be nice.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So thank you so much. And then next month, everyone, on March and then in April, I will be the lecturer, and I'll be lecturing from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, which is one of the most powerful books, I think, in our contemporary culture. A man in his early 20s, just married in Vienna, that through the vicissitudes of fate and circumstance under the Nazis found himself in Auschwitz. And he had been trained as a psychiatrist. And so he experienced the concentration camps from the point of view of a deep seeker in terms of what does it take to survive what is happening. And his answer, codified in this book, which was an international bestseller, it's one of the best-selling books in the 20th century, is well worth us contemplating as we find ourselves 2 years in to a pandemic that doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon and has put the entire human race essentially under martial law. And the confusions that we have had are the confusions that they had. So to paraphrase Barbara Tuchman, you know, the Black Death being a distant mirror to our present predicament, I would say that Viktor Frankl's experience under the constraints of oppression is also a distant mirror for our predicament, and how we discern meaning in this complexio is what I'll be exploring in my 2 lectures. But I'm very humbled, Kala, to have to follow you. Normally I start the year, and now I feel like everybody else does. I'll be lecturing under your shadow.
Jim, Man's Search for Meaning is just where we are right now. It's
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and the Infinity and Man's Search for Meaning are just, it's perfect. It's a perfect interface.
Yeah, so that'll
Very
be next month, the second Tuesday of March and the second Tuesday of April on humanity, on the great books. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kala.
you.
Thank you, students.
Thank you.
Bye for now. Thank you, Georgie.